All right, we're going to take some notes for the background to the Odyssey. In your composition notebook, make sure you have this set up. Use headers from the slides. You don't have to copy down everything word for word, especially about like the Iliad and the Trojan War. You just kind of need to know about it. But when we get to like epics and the hero's journey, definitely make sure you have that as well as these first few terms. A simile is a comparison using like or as between two unlike things. So my dog who is clicking in the background, if I compared him to a gurgling brook, a dog and a brook are not alike. An epithet is a brief descriptive phrase used to characterize a particular person or thing. For instance, Khaleesi or Daenerys in Game of Thrones is often called the mother of dragons. That would be an epithet. Andrew the Great, Vlad the Impaler, the Great, and the Impaler are epithets. And an allusion is a reference to a famous person, place, or event. For instance, while we read the Odyssey, we'll see allusions to other myths in Greek mythology. A good example of this would be you guys just read Romeo and Juliet. Think of all the things that reference Romeo and Juliet. Those are allusions. So, the two epics that we're talking about are the Iliad, which we will not read, and the Odyssey. They were both composed in Greece around 750 to 725 BC, so they are old. They are considered epic narrative poetry. A narrative poem is a poem that tells a story. An epic narrative poem is a really long poem that tells a story. They are credited to the blind poet named Homer. He didn't really write these. These were kind of transferred around orally, so people just memorizing them and retelling them. But eventually they were compiled and written down, and we just credit those written down copies to Homer. They deal with these elements of plot: the Trojan War, the heroism of Odysseus. Odysseus is in both, and of course the continued interference of the gods. So the Iliad all focuses on the Trojan War, and it's just the final year of the war. The war lasted for 10 years. So the Iliad is just focused on that last year. The Trojan War occurred sometime around 1200 BC, and the players are Paris, who is a Trojan prince. He is actually propositioned by three goddesses, and each of them promises him something. Aphrodite promises him a beautiful woman, and she delivers with, because he picks her, and she delivers with Helen, who happens to be somebody else's wife. Inconvenient. So he borrows her, or takes her, or perhaps kidnaps her from Sparta, because she was married to Menelaus, who was the king of Sparta, and then they take her back to Troy. Menelaus gets together with all the other kings in Greece and says, we need to go get my wife back. And they launch this war that lasts 10 years. Oftentimes, Helen of Troy is described as a face that launched 1,000 ships. These are the ships that she launched. The key players for the Iliad would be the Greek warrior Achilles, Agamemnon, who is Menelaus' brother, so he is also from Sparta. Hector is Paris' brother. He is on the Trojan side. Odysseus of Ithaca is on the Greek side, and then, of course, the Trojan horse. So basically, the ending unravels when Achilles won't fight. Achilles' friend wears his armor. The armor gets destroyed by the gods, and Achilles, his friend, is killed. And Achilles gets mad. He kills Hector, who is related to Troy, and parades him all around, defiling the body. And they get mad. Achilles actually ends up dying because he gets shot in you guessed it, his heel, which is Achilles' heel. But more importantly, the Greeks just can't get through the walls of Troy. So Odysseus comes up with this clever plan, builds this gigantic wooden horse. The Trojans wake up one morning and all the Greeks are gone, and they've just left this giant horse as tribute, I guess. It's like, my bad, we're done now. Gift, and they reel it in and celebrate the fact that they won. Unbeknownst to them, inside that Trojan horse are all the Greeks that they thought had left. And the Greeks come out, they've now gotten through the walls, and they destroy Troy. So that's the story of the Iliad. The Odyssey focuses on Odysseus' long journey home. He goes home with 12 ships carrying 720 men. On his way, he faces monsters, enchanting women, and, of course, interference of the gods and goddesses. He has made some enemies, and he has made some fans. Athena thinks he's great and clever and courageous, and Aphrodite is still ticked off because she was on the side of the Trojans. So, epics at a glance. We need an epic superhero. So this person, or epic superhero, an epic hero, could be a superhero, I guess. He's going to have superhuman strength and confidence. He's going to be helped and harmed by the gods. The hero's values and ideals are considered admirable, not just by the gods, but also by the audience. And then this person is going to remain victorious despite the odds. When we start talking about other hero journey stories, you'll see that most of these fit for most of those epic heroes. We need an epic setting, so something like a fantastic or exotic land, maybe different countries. The epic plot, there's going to be a long journey. There's going to be problems with that journey. Those problems are going to include the weather, the creatures, and the gods intervening. And then some of the themes that we'll discuss are courage, the fate of a nation, a homecoming, beauty and loyalty, and life and death. So the archetypes that are included in this are common to more than just the Odyssey. You'll know these from other hero journey stories as well. For instance, sea monsters. I mean, you can go with Ursula, but think of like Jaws, the shark, or the Megalodon, the Meg, a shark. In this case, they'll be actually like Greek sea monsters. There's a wicked temptress. I picked Meg from Hercules because she's trying to get in the way and tempt Hercules away from reaching his goal. But it could be something like the Ring in the Lord of the Rings. It's not a girl at all, not a woman at all. It doesn't have to be a temptress as in a woman. The Ring is trying to lead Frodo away from reaching his goal of destroying the ring. There's buried treasure, not necessarily buried treasure, but some kind of treasure to win at the end, something to win. A suitor's conquest, think The Bachelor. Odysseus has been gone for an awfully long time, and his wife is just chilling back at home, being the queen and all, and lots of people would like to marry her. So there's a whole suitor contest thing going on. There's an epic hero. In this case, I picked Harry Potter, but you could think Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games, Frodo from The Lord of the Rings, and then they have a loyal servant. So Harry had Ron Weasley, Frodo had Samwise Gamgee. All your Disney characters have assistants, like Elsa had Olaf, and Ariel had Flounder and Sebastian. Those are loyal servants. So the hero's journey basically goes around in a circle. We start off at the status quo, so just the ordinary world, everything's going fine. Then we have a call to adventure. It might not be a good call, but it's a call to adventure. Initially, that person might refuse. They get mentor help. They cross the threshold. That's kind of now this is happening. They're going to move forward, and they face a bunch of tests. They make allies. They make enemies. The approach to the inmost cave is really, it's not like there has to be a cave, but it's just like this is the point of no return. They've entered the cave for the Holy Grail. They've entered the Hunger Games. Like, the games have started. There's going to be crisis at that point, but the crisis is going to be dealt with, and there's going to be some kind of reward, a treasure, a trophy, not dying, any of those things. And then they deal with returning home, their new life, and a resolution, and eventually it returns back to the status quo or the ordinary world that they had left. Other hero journeys examples include The Lion King, The Lord of the Rings, Finding Nemo, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, anything like that. If you start watching movies with these thoughts in mind, you'll actually find a ton of hero's journey stories. All right, so those are your notes. Make sure you have these written down in your composition notebook. If you need to watch it twice or pause on any of the slides, feel free to do so. Don't forget to take your Google form using your notes at the end. Thanks for listening.